What is going on, everybody? Paul here, coming at you with an ICO review. First of all, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, nor am I a lawyer. I'm just a guy on the internet giving you his opinion. So with that out of the way, let's get into it. Today we're going to be taking a look at a very important project that seeks to facilitate a critical service, something that oftentimes isn't thought about until it's just too late, since really it's not the responsibility of any one person or institution. Rather, it's a collective oversight by a wider society that, though innocent and reasonable in scope, can be absolutely devastating in terms of how it applies to humanity as a whole and the information we share. Most of you may be familiar with the term common knowledge. It applies to things like, hey, don't stick that metal fork in the electrical outlet. And for those of you who don't know, please seriously don't do that. It's very dangerous and it's not enjoyable. This is information that's generally considered to be understood given the context of the society in which we live. However, if we were to say, take someone from ancient Greece and drop them into a modern New York City apartment, they would no doubt be very unaware as to what's generally considered common knowledge for contemporary folk like us. Conversely, if we were to go back in time and hang out with the ancient Greeks for a little bit, we'd probably be very surprised and largely unaware as to what they consider common knowledge for their society. But why is this? Given the vast and extensive influence and history of ancient Greece, why are we putting pieces together about their culture some 2.5 millennia later? This is because the way in which we keep records is fundamentally flawed. Here's an example. Let's say Socrates had 10 copies of his work and no subsequent works were created after that. One copy is destroyed every 200 years or so. Fast forward to today, and all 10 of those works were destroyed, the last of which was destroyed 500 years ago. The point is this: any form of centralized record keeping will fail. It's not a question of if, even if it's every 200 years something goes wrong. It's a question of when, and how long will it take until this system fails. Perhaps the most famous example of this reality is the burning of the Library of Alexandria. Heralded as one of the greatest locations on Earth for acquiring knowledge in the ancient world, the library was built in the 100s BC in Egypt. And for over 2 centuries, the library meticulously collected information from all around the known world in one convenient place, until the Roman Civil War saw the library burn down and many of its records were destroyed or scattered. It may really never be known just how much information was lost in this tragic event, but since we don't know what we don't know, there's really no way to find out. Think of it like this: we're basically living in ancient history now. 2,000 years in the future, how can we even be sure anyone will know what a Bitcoin is? Perhaps they'll view Bitcoin largely how we view barter, archaic and out of date. There's no way we can know what 2,000 years in the future may look like, but one thing we can do is make sure that when that time comes, they'll have enough data to know all the information they need about us. This is exactly what the project we're looking at today seeks to solve. Arweave is a system that offers a novel approach to immutable data storage. By interweaving blockchains, the network achieves unparalleled accessibility and resiliency while simultaneously nullifying most of the redundant energy usage found in existing blockchains. In this way, Arweave has tailor-fit a blockchain-based solution to long-term data storage, ensuring any data stored on the network has the maximum potential for indefinite immutability, ensuring the sanctity of that data potentially forever. Let's take a closer look as to what this means, how this process is achieved, and who's behind this brilliant solution to ensuring our civilization may well have a place in history for eons to come. Here we are at arweave.org, where you can see the mainnet is launching in about 23.5 days. In order to participate in the sale, you have to apply for the whitelist, which can be done using this big ol' orange button right here. Keep in mind, the main sale is currently heavily oversubscribed, with the Arweave Telegram hosting around 20,000 members. We'll check out this light paper indicated by the blue button here momentarily after examining the rest of the website. You can see here in their own words, Arweave has solved a millennia-old problem of decentralizing data availability. And that word availability is important, as Arweave seeks to enable users to not only store their own data, but also access it and other data stored on the network. Moving down, we come to perhaps the most information-dense portion of the website, so let's briefly explore some highlights from this section. Here we can see the Blockweave, an innovative application of blockchain technology that utilizes a consensus algorithm called proof of access, which you can see here. It's a very energy-efficient mechanism compared to traditional proof-of-work blockchains. A self-organizing network known as Wildfire ensures the most efficient routes of information distribution are taken and self-optimizes periodically to ensure such. 5,000 transactions per second, while sounds kind of small compared to other centralized storage systems, is more than enough throughput for the proposed applications and does so without compromising the decentralization of the network, a very important point. Having been built by devs for devs, Arweave has a custom REST API which allows users to program in whatever programming language they're most comfortable in to build decentralized applications on top of the Arweave platform. So you can see a very informative portion of the website here. Moving down, we have the advisors section. A strong team of advisors is really reassuring and offers some degree of edification in a field of often brand new technical innovations from sometimes previously unknown individuals. Next up, we have a glimpse inside the ecosystem and some of the capabilities it has, the most far-reaching of which is the permanent Internet Archive. Currently, Internet archives such as Wayback Machine or archive.org are stored in a centralized fashion. Decentralizing this process ensures lack of censorship and resiliency in the network. The storage of legal documents is another powerful feature for the Arweave system. Existing projects lack immutability, sufficient for the storage of sensitive data such as legal or medical documents. Given the ability of decentralized app development on the Arweave system, these applications can be actualized through regulatory compliant development if so desired. Moving on, we have the folks here behind the project, and I'm very pleased with the strength of this young team, I have to say. Sam Williams, you can see him here, is the CEO of Arweave and is incredibly articulate and clear in his explanation of the system. He does a good job. He did so in his own words at CodeBeam San Francisco 2018 back in March, and it's linked below in the description. Next up, we have William Jones, who has a background of computer science, graph theory, and neuroscience. So this individual is highly capable and his skill sets are highly compatible and beneficial for the Arweave project. Next, we have India, who is somebody I've spoken to on a personal basis, and frankly, I find her delightful. Her level of professionalism and attention to detail, in my opinion, far exceeds the general expectations that I have of a CCO, and her genuineness and her good nature go a long way in demonstrating that the Arweave team has a real team of real people who are truly passionate about the work they're doing. If the remaining team is reflected in any capacity by the 3 core members, then I believe we'll be hearing a lot more about these young entrepreneurs in the future. Moving down, again, we see the advisors, and with that, we're pretty much finished off with the website. So let's return back to the top of the page and explore the light paper, which I've already opened up over here. We've already covered in detail the value proposition and some of the features in Arweave, so let's go ahead and move on down to section 4, shall we? Alright, section 1.4, which you can find here, explains in more detail the block weave architecture. 2 new concepts enable this approach: a block hash and a wallet list. The block hash is a list of all the hashes of all the previous blocks, and the wallet list is a list of all active wallets in the system. By possessing the block hash and the wallet list, transactions can be verified without possessing the block in which the last transaction was used, allowing nodes to join the network near immediately. You can see here, they can mine in the weave almost immediately. Furthermore, miners can use this approach to join the network immediately, as block hash removes the need for each node to verify the entire weave before participating in mining. To prevent recall block forging, the block hash list is distributed with every new block. Proof of access, which you can see here, is the consensus mechanism in the Arweave system and builds upon existing proof of work architecture. Rather than using the previous block to generate a successive block, the proof of access algorithm allows users to access any previous block and calculate the current block by accounting for the current block height. This further enforces network accessibility for all nodes. Wildfire is the feature through which optimal node propagation is incentivized. In order to prevent data hoarding, an incentive mechanism for data propagation via a ranking system for how quickly new blocks and transactions are distributed to peers is enforced. Poorly performing nodes may be blacklisted from the network entirely, with peers being financially incentivized to stay well positioned relative to one another. Here you can see a visual representation of the Wildfire feature. Next up, we have block shadows, which are Another novel approach in the Arweave system that minimizes energy input and negates some of the redundancies in the existing blockchain architecture. Rather than distributing the entirety of all new blocks to all nodes without accounting for data that may be redundant, Arweave's block shadow partially decouples transactions from blocks and allows nodes to download only the information they need to form a new block. Nodes that hold all of the transactions inside the block and an up-to-date hash list and wallet list can in turn reconstruct an entire block of arbitrary size. Combined with Wildfire, this results in a fast, flexible, energy-efficient system that can achieve throughputs of roughly 5,000 transactions per second. Of course, reviled data seeks a home as well, and Arweave seeks to prevent this housing of illicit or unpreferable material by empowering the community to blacklist individually or collaboratively. Hashes or substrings of certain data will never be stored by a node that has blacklisted a particular node or type of content. Furthermore, content that is rejected by over half of the network will subsequently be rejected by the network at large, serving as a democratic, network-wide content assurance policy. The rest of the light paper examines the REST API, what sort of decentralized apps may be built on top of the Arweave system, and some other potential use cases before wrapping up with the conclusion and the sources. Overall, in my opinion, Arweave is one of the rare projects that isn't an outgrowth of an existing company, yet still maintains a strong, long-term vision rooted in pragmatic problem-solving and applied flexible solutions for a variety of use cases, all backed by a strong team. Each generation has a collection of brilliant young minds that must strike out and attempt to build upon what already exists, using their time on this earth to set the stage for the next iteration of a similar yet distinct human experience. Contained in this caliber of person is, in my opinion, the Arweave team, highlighted by the fact that they seek to preserve that which has been built upon and learned by humanity for those who are not yet born. A powerful value proposition, meticulously undertaken in a concerted effort to improve not only the world around us in the immediacy, but also to improve the world we will inevitably leave behind for those who follow after us. This has been Cryptide's review of Arweave. Let me know what you think of this content below in the comments, and of course I'll have all the links below in the description. As usual, thanks so much for watching. Check us out on Discord if you have any questions or concerns. We'd love to talk on a personal basis. Like, share, subscribe. My name is Paul. We'll talk to y'all next time. And remember, the tide is rising.